In with your VON major news package for today, Thursday, November 7th, 2019. In our lead stories nationally, Republic Bank will remain employment of Scotiabank staff, SKN Prime Minister says. And a war of words between Premier Brantley and NRP candidate Dr. Daly. Regionally, Puerto Rico senator and 7 others arrested by FBI in corruption investigation. Internationally, NATO alliance is brain dead, says France's president. And in sports, Leeward Island Hurricanes blow away CCC Marooners in regional Super 50 Cup opener. We'll have the details to these and other stories after this short break.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan.
Welcome back, and now for the national news. Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, has provided some information to allay the fears of staff at the Bank of Nova Scotia losing their jobs following a Republic Financial Holdings Limited, RFHL, or Republic Bank's acquisition of the Scotiabank's operation. The Trinidad-based Republic Financial Holdings Limited announced in November 2018 that it had entered into an agreement to acquire Scotiabank's banking operations in 9 Caribbean territories, namely St. Martin, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Scotiabank has operated in St. Kitts and Nevis for some 36 years. The bank opened its doors of the 3-branch network in St. Kitts and Nevis last week, with Mrs. Pamela Herbert Daniel being the new country manager, according to the Prime Minister.
We are encouraged by the positive news that the Republic Bank has agreed to maintain employment of the existing Scotiabank staff deployed here in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Prime Minister Harris said that it is expected that bank will boost small and medium-sized enterprises, or SMEs.
It is our hope that the Republic Bank would bring valuable expertise to help boost the development of small and medium-sized enterprises in the Federation and broaden our access to the international network of correspondent banks. As Scotiabank exits after some 36 years of doing business here in the Federation, we warmly welcome Republic Bank with much hope and anticipation for a long and fruitful partnership in the years ahead.
Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. A war of words has ensued between Nevis's premier and leader of the Concerned Citizens Movement, or CCM, the Honorable Mark Brantley, and the deputy leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, NRP, Dr. Kelvin Daly. The next federal elections, which are constitutionally due by early 2020, will see both individuals contesting the Nevis 9th seat. Mr. Brantley, who is the incumbent, said these few words while on his On the Mark program on Wednesday evening.
I have been told that there is someone who's running against me, a retiree who's running against me in District 9 for the federal elections. I have not yet engaged with that retiree because I have found that it is not yet opportune for me to do so. And those who know me know that I try to be strategic in what I do politically, and I believe that timing is always important. And so some have called me and said to me that, you know, this one green horse is on the track and the horse looks fast. And I've said to them, whenever one horse is on the track, it always looks fast. But the big blue machine is ready.
Mr. Brantley questioned the former CFBC president's record.
What is your record when you were charged with an institution in St. Kitts to run? What did the audit that was done say about your tenure? I will delve right here and elsewhere, using all the platforms that I have available to me, into that CFBC report. The sheriff on the 6th of November said that the CFBC report is a bombshell. I want you to do that because people must be examined so that you can ascertain for yourself, are they a liar or are they a fool? And I am urging those who say they want to come to this arena, which is politics, to understand that it is serious business and that you cannot simply go on radio or go on TV or go on whatever and make up stories.
The Honorable Mark Brantley. Meantime, the VON News line spoke with Dr. Daly, the NRP candidate for Nevis 9, who stated why he is running for the seat.
I see no headway being made by the present holder of that parliamentary seat, the Honorable Mark Brantley. I think having been blessed with so much, having gotten the benevolence of the federal government in the sum of $200+ million plus recurrent revenue in the last 4 years, we have not seen any real growth in the economy of Nevis. Actually, we've seen a contraction in the economy. We've seen an erosion of education. We've seen an erosion of healthcare. We have seen a real difficulty by the Premier to attract foreign direct investment. We have seen the decline of our airport. So everywhere you go, people are struggling trying to make ends meet. And I think it's time that we stop it.
Dr. Daly says he is questioning the leadership of the Honorable Premier.
I have put a development plan out there for persons to see and to examine. He has yet to do that. I challenge him to put out something out there. He admitted he has failed at reviving the Vance Armour International Airport. He has admitted he has failed at the fourth season negotiation with the workers. He has admitted he has failed with not knowing the issues of Broadway communications. Now, if he wants to debate, let us debate and stop this childish behavior and let the people decide who is it that feel more trusted in moving the country forward. Now, he's saying, I'm a green horse. This green horse has been around for a long time.
NRP's candidate for Nevis number 9, Dr. Kelvin Daly. In more national news,
the Cabinet on the 9th of October took a decision that we're introducing a new policy where if you have represented Nevis in cricket at Test ODI 2020, or you've represented us in the Olympics or World Championships, that you would be entitled to a duty-free concession on a vehicle once every 5 years. And I think that the public will debate whether it's good or bad. I think it's an excellent initiative to honor people who have done well. They are iconic people here. They have done well. They put us on the map in a very tangible way. And I would hope that they would take advantage of this particular opportunity.
That's Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley. Mr. Brantley made the announcement last Thursday, October 31st. The Premier stated that it is the Nevis Island Administration's hope that the policy serves to show gratitude towards those that have been outstanding in sports.
That is something that we would hope sportspersons would accept, something that they would see as our effort to demonstrate our appreciation for putting Nevis on the international scene, but also we hope that it would motivate other youngsters who are coming through, that they too can access duty-free concession, and that is every 5 years.
Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley. More good news continue to pour in for the residents of St. Kitts and Nevis as we approach the month of December. During the Prime Minister's monthly press conference on November 4th, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris made this statement following the announcement of the 2 discounted VAT rate days, or DVRDs.
Our caring team unity government has approved the following for implementation during the whole month of December, that is from the 1st to the 31st of December 2019. The gift packages for which now you have been allowed £66 free of duties and taxes, we have increased that almost sevenfold to £400 free of duties and taxes. The travellers who would have received a duty-free allowance of $440 of the CIF value will during December receive a duty-free allowance of $540 off the CIF value.
Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. In light of the above mentioned, according to the Prime Minister, and I quote, "We have been able to offer these concessions and tax waivers because the economy is fundamentally strong," end quote. Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris is leading a St. Kitts and Nevis delegation to the 2019 Caribbean Forum on Regional Transformation for Inclusive and Sustainable Growth, which began on Wednesday, November 6th at the Lloyd Erskine Sandyfold Center in Barbados. Accompanying the Prime Minister are Senior Minister the Honorable Vance Amri and Permanent Representative for St. Kitts and Nevis to the Organization of American States, OAS, His Excellency Dr. Everson Hull. The forum is designed to explore avenues for regional transformation with the aim of achieving sustainable and inclusive growth. The forum is also in its 9th year and is jointly organized by the Government of Barbados, the Caribbean Development Bank, or CDB, and the International Monetary Fund, or IMF. It brings together senior policymakers, public and private stakeholders, as well as multilateral development partners. Prime Minister Harris is expected to extend 3 panel discussions that will focus on institutional arrangements to boost regional integration. October 2020 is the proposed completion date for a major utility solar farm, the Leclanche Solar Farm on St. Kitts. As part of a month of activities in celebration of CARICOM Energy Month, Control and Operations Engineer at St. Kitts Electricity Company, or SCELEC, Mr. Colin Brown, disclosed on this week's edition of Working for You that the energy farm will be developed in St. Kitts. Here's Mr. Colin Brown.
The Leclanche Solar Farm is one of the major components of the Government of the Federation's thrust to move to renewable energy as the principal and the majority of our electricity energy production. So Leclanche Solar Farm is the first utility scale solar farm that's coming online in the Federation. The Leclanche Solar Farm is the first utility scale, and it's envisioned that when it's completed, the majority of the electricity production in the Federation will be provided by the farm.
According to a press release by Leclanche Energy Storage Solution, the St. Kitts Nevis Leclanche Solar Farm will be the largest generation plus energy storage project ever to be built in the Caribbean. Director Brown also disclosed where the farm will be situated as well as how it will be operated.
It will be situated in the Bastia Valley, in the vicinity between our present power station and the Kim Collins Highway, essentially. It's being developed in a partnership with Leclanche. Essentially, they operate and own the facility, and they have a sell and buy agreement with SCELEC and the Government of the Federation for the electricity they produce.
Operations Engineer at St. Kitts Electricity Company Limited, Mr. Colin Brown. Also, according to the press release, the plant will be a 35.6 megawatt power plant and 44.2 megawatt hour battery storage facility. It will provide the residents with a reliable and renewable clean energy source with fixed cost savings compared to the current diesel generation power system. The system will provide between 25 to 30% of the nation's current power generation needs while displacing the same amount of diesel-generated capacity. And finally, in our national news segment, in related news, how will the residents of St. Kitts and Nevis benefit as a result of these developments in renewable energy? That was a question directed to the director of the St. Kitts Energy Unit, Mr. Bertil Brown, on this week's edition of Working for You, hosted by Mr. Kiloni Johnson. According to Mr. Brown, there are ongoing negotiations with regards to renewable energy in St. Kitts, namely solar, geothermal, and wind. Apart from the Leclanche Solar Farm, these include ongoing negotiations with a potential supplier to provide 5.4 megawatt hours of wind energy. So how will the ordinary resident benefit from these projects? Here was Mr. Brown's response.
The Leclanche Solar Farm is one of the major components of the Government of the Federation's thrust to move to renewable energy as the principal and the majority of our electricity energy production. So the Leclanche Solar Farm is the first utility scale solar farm that's coming online in the Federation. The Leclanche Solar Farm is the first utility scale, and it's envisioned that When it's completed, the majority of the electricity production in the Federation will be provided by the farm.
That's the national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vaughanradio.com or check us out on our Facebook at Vaughan Radio or our Vaughan Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
Life can be more fulfilling when we take the time out to smell the roses. And that's why your friends and family at the Bank of Nevis are experts at picking the flowers that best describe you. Whether you're planning to treat yourself after a long work week or finally getting around to that closet update, you deserve all the special things that life has to offer. And the Bond Visa card is here to help you achieve it. With just a swipe, you can turn a last-minute lunch date with friends and family into something worth remembering with memories that will last a lifetime. Pampering yourself just got a whole lot easier. And after all, you deserve every refreshing moment of it. The ability to make your travel arrangements at your own convenience, whether by sea or by air, now rests within the palm of your hand. With a single swipe, the Bond Visa card can put a world of difference between life and truly living. Whereas the only limit you may have is your own imagination. Apply today. The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life.
Welcome back, and now for the regional news. Out of Puerto Rico, a Puerto Rico senator awaiting trial on fraud charges was taken into custody Wednesday morning by federal authorities in connection with an investigation into alleged corruption that also resulted in the arrest of 7 others, officials said. Abel Nazario, a 49-year-old currently serving in the U.S. Territory's 26th Senate, was apprehended as part of the probe, an FBI spokesperson said, but further information on the nature of the charges was not immediately revealed. Information was not immediately available about the 7 others who were arrested Wednesday in connection with the probe. Following Nazario's arrest, Puerto Rico's Senate President Thomas Rivera Schatz asked for Nazario's resignation. A spokesperson for Nazario told the Associated Press the senator maintains his innocence. Nazario was previously arrested by federal authorities in September 2018 on charges of wire fraud and falsifying documents, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Puerto Rico. He was accused of defrauding his employees while serving as the mayor of Yauco, a southwestern town in Puerto Rico, where he was an elected official from 2000 until December 2016. Out of Cuba, Bruno Rodriguez Varela, Cuban Minister of Foreign Affairs, announced on Wednesday, 6th November on Twitter that he will present the draft resolution necessity of ending the economic, commercial, and financial blockade imposed by the United States of America against Cuba at the United Nations on November 7th. Rodriguez Varela expressed that Cuba will not stop claiming for the total elimination of the blockade imposed by the United States against his country. For the 28th time, we will present before the UN General Assembly the draft resolution against the blockade, the Cuban diplomat tweeted. As part of his activities at the UN, the Cuban foreign minister held an exchange on Monday with Tajani Muhammad Bande, president of the 74th session of the UN General Assembly. At the meeting, Cuban minister reiterated Cuba's commitment to multilateralism and explained the importance of the fight against the U.S. government's economic, commercial, and financial blockade against Cuba for almost 6 decades. Rodriguez Varela also participated in the meeting of the Coordinating Bureau of Non-Aligned Movement, or NAM, in which he ratified the Cuban commitment to that organization and updated its members on the new escalation of hostility and tightening of the U.S. blockade against Havana. Out of St. Lucia, a man who reportedly raped and sodomized a 105-year-old woman was killed by the police on Saturday, 2nd November. The police reported that the suspect, Miguel Edward, also known as Mad Max, was killed around 12 p.m. local time. Edward, who reportedly attacked the woman at her home earlier in the day, was killed as he attempted to flee to Martinique. The police say he was about to board a boat and was finally shot when he pulled a weapon on law enforcement personnel. The police say Edward was a menace and had been in and out of jail on several occasions. That's it for the regional news segment. International news is up next. Welcome back, and now for the international news. President Emmanuel Macron of France has described NATO as brain dead, stressing what he sees as a waning commitment to the transatlantic alliance by its main guarantor, the U.S. Interviewed by The Economist, he cited the U.S.'s failure to consult NATO before pulling forces out of northern Syria. He also appeared to cast doubt on whether NATO members were still committed to collective defense. The BBC's Jonathan Marcus reports.
Less than a month ahead of a NATO summit in London called to mark the alliance's 70th birthday, President Macron's comments underscore growing tensions within NATO. One key fault line has been opened up by President Trump, who frequently denigrates his NATO allies for not spending sufficiently on their own defence. Mr. Macron bemoaned the lack of coordination on strategic decision-making between the US and its NATO allies. With more members than ever and facing many challenges, NATO looks set to have a bumpy 70th anniversary celebration.
The Bank of England has warned that the government's Brexit deal will drag down growth over the next 3 years as extra trade barriers raise costs. It came as two blank policy members call for an immediate interest cut to support the economy. The bank voted 7-2 to keep interest rates on hold at 0.75%. Policymakers said weaker global growth and ongoing uncertainty over Brexit will continue to weigh on the UK economy. The bank said the new EU withdrawal agreement struck by Prime Minister Boris Johnson had reduced the likelihood of a no-Brexit deal. Iran has cancelled the accreditation of an International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA, inspector who was prevented from entering a nuclear facility last week. It is said that the inspector triggered an alarm at the gate of the NATS uranium enrichment plant, raising fears she was carrying suspicious material. The U.S. said she was briefly detained, an accusation Iran rejected. It seemed to be the first such incident since the IAEA began monitoring Iranian compliance with a 2015 nuclear deal. The BBC's Bethany Bell reports.
This incident seems to be the first of its kind involving IAEA inspectors since world powers struck the nuclear deal with Iran in 2015. The US ambassador to the IAEA said it was an unwarranted act of intimidation. Her Iranian counterpart, Kazem Garibabadi, said the inspector had not been detained. He said alarms had gone off as she was entering the Natanz uranium enrichment site. There was no doubt, he said, that suspicious material was involved.
And finally, in our international news segment, a former Congolese rebel leader has been sentenced to 30 years for war crimes and crimes against humanity. Bosco Ntaganda, nicknamed the Terminator, was convicted on 18 counts including murder, rape, sexual slavery, and using child soldiers. Judges at the International Criminal Court, or ICC, found in July that fighters loyal to Ntaganda had carried out gruesome massacres of civilians. The BBC's Hannah Holligan reports.
Among the highlights from the judge today, 2 attacks on villages in which civilians were mutilated, tied up and bludgeoned to death. Girls were held in a state of sexual slavery. Some schoolgirls, children as young as 9 years old, were raped, and others under the age of 15 were recruited and trained to fight for his rebel militia.
That's it for the international news segment. Sports is up next.
Let TDC Financial Services help you go for your goals. Whether you're thinking of taking that grand vacation, down payment on a house, higher education, TDC Financial Services has various plans that will allow you to go for your goals. Choose from the Accumulator Plus, Investment Starter Plan, and Fixed Deposit. Ready to go for your goals? Visit us at TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Welcome back, and now into sports. In cricket, a career best 100 from Devon Thomas, followed by a destructive spell from West Indies off-spinner Rakeem Cornwall, propelled hosts Leeward Islands Hurricanes to a 109-run victory over defending champions Combined Campuses and College Marooners in the Colonial Medical Insurance Super 50 Cup on Wednesday. Thomas, who celebrates his 30th birthday in 9 days' time, cracked 10 fours and 1 6 and a polished 105 from 94 balls to post the first 100 of this year's Super 50 Cup in the tournament opener, a day-night Group A contest at Warner Park. It was Thomas's second West Indies Super 50 100 as he shared half-century stands with left-hander Amir Django, Akeem Saunders, and his captain Jamar Hamilton that formed the backbone of the Hurricanes' total of 292 for 7 from their allocation of 50 overs. Cornwall then grabbed 4 for 21 from 5.3 overs, and a hometown pacer Shino Berridge supported with 3 for 20 from 8 overs to lead the demolition of the Marooners, batting for 94 in 31.3 overs. The result gave the Hurricanes 4 points and their second largest victory in runs in West Indies Super 50 Cup history. And finally, in sports, in more cricket, Roston Chase fell 6 short of his maiden ODI 100, while Shai Hope scored an unbeaten 77 as West Indies beat Afghanistan by 7 wickets in the first ODI in Lucknow. They now lead the 3-match series 1-0. After being put in half-centuries from Ramat Shah and Iram Aliki, had taken Afghanistan to 126 for 2 around the halfway stage. But it was Aliki's run out that proved to be the turning point. The batsman left his crease to congratulate Ramat on his 50 while the ball still in play. And when Hope broke the stumps and West Indies appealed, he had to walk back. The summarized scores were West Indies 197 for 3, Chase 94, Hope 77, Mujeb 2 for 33, beat Afghanistan 194, Ramat 61, Alikil 58, Holder 2 for 21, Chase 2 for 31 by 7 wickets. That's it for sports. The weather is up next. The weather tonight, partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy with a 40% or moderate chance of showers. The weather tomorrow, partly cloudy with a 40% or moderate chance of showers. Winds east with speeds ranging between 20 to 33 kilometers per hour or 11 to 18 knots. Seas 1.5 to 2.1 meters or 5 to 7 feet, with higher seas expected on eastern side of the islands. The small craft advisory remains in effect. The sunrise tomorrow is 6:11 a.m. The sunset tomorrow is 5:38 p.m. That's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Thursday, November 7th, 2019. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, Republic Bank will maintain employment of Scotiabank staff, SKN's Prime Minister says. And war of words between Premier Brantley and NRP candidate Dr. Daly. Regionally, Puerto Rico senator and 7 others arrested by FBI in corruption investigation. Internationally, NATO alliance is brain dead, says France's president. And in sports, Leeward Island Hurricanes blow away CCC Marooners in regional Super 50 Cup opener. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Daniel Moore, wishing you a pleasant evening.